On a gloomy, stormy night, behind a mysterious veil of fog, Blackwood Manor slowly emerged into view. Although the manor was vast and once magnificent, its structure now bore the cruel scars of time and dark forces. Cracks on its walls seemed to whisper secrets of their own, each one guarding a hidden story. Local legends claimed that the manor harbored a curse, one that sealed the fate of every soul daring enough to cross its threshold. Ethan, a renowned photographer and paranormal investigator, had long dismissed. When he finally reached its imposing door, the rusted iron gate slowly creaked open, as if unveiling the final testament of a long-departed master. Every patina and rusted. Upon entering, Ethan was immediately enveloped by a heavy silence and the lingering scent of centuries past. In the grand foyer, faded portraits hung on the walls, each his face seemingly following his every move with a quiet, eerie persistence, as if determined to communicate the sorrow of lost hope and unspoken secrets. As he continued through narrow, creaking corridors, his eyes caught sight of footprints emerging from the dusted trail that appeared to rise from the very depths of the manor, testifying to tragedies long buried within its walls. At the end of one corridor, a sliver of pale light seeped through an aged wooden door. Steeling his nerves, Ethan pushed the door open, only to be met with the sight of ancient portraits whose frozen expressions of terror bore silent witness to unspeakable horrors. Deeper within the manor, Ethan found himself in a room that transcended both time and space, a chamber filled with the anguished memories of forgotten tragedies. In its center stood an antique piano, coated thickly with dust, as if cradling within its keys the melodies of 1,000 tearful farewells. With trembling hands, he readied his camera when, inexplicably, the piano began to play on its own. The notes that emerged were melancholic and sorrowful, so eerie that they seemed to echo the lament of countless lost souls interred within the manor's walls. Almost simultaneously, ghostly silhouettes began to materialize from the room's shadowed corners. With blurred, smoky forms and tattered garments rippling in an unseen breeze, female figures glided gracefully as if performing a tragic dance. A few steps away, a gentleman clad in an antiquated suit, his face etched with indescribable agony, stood unmoving before a shattered mirror. While in the distance, the faint outline of a small child wandered aimlessly, eyes vacant and searching. Each apparition imprinted a cold, piercing dread deep within Ethan's heart. Then, as if punctuating the moment, the silence was suddenly broken by an insidious chorus of whispers. From every wall, every window, a symphony of murmurs cried out, "Leave, go now." Each uttered plea weighed heavily on his soul, as if the manor itself were tightening its grip around him. With every flash of his camera, fleeting glimpses of these spectral entities merged and separated, fusing memories, tragedies, and the eternal anguish of those long dead into one overwhelming vision. In that very moment, beneath the mournful strains of the piano, an unsettling, sinister laugh devoid of both mirth and joy, and laced solely with deadly mockery rang out. This laugh spread like a dark contagion throughout the room, echoing as if from an ancient curse born centuries ago. Under the assault of his camera's flashing light, the room's shadows began to shudder. On the walls, in the mirrors, and along the window panes, faint, translucent faces materialized, each bearing the scars of betrayal, loss, and unending torment. A moment of eerie silence followed, only to be shattered by the appearance of a colossal mirror standing at the heart of the manor. Drawn to its spectral allure, Ethan stepped closer. In its reflection, he first saw the empty room, but then, behind him, the delicate outline of a woman appeared. Her face was gaunt and ghostly, her eyes brimming with sorrow and seething anger, as if the entire curse of Blackwood Manor had coalesced in the depths of her gaze. In that terrifying instant, Ethan resolved to flee it. The manor seemed determined to imprison his very soul with its invisible chains. Corridors shifted and warped, as if engaged in a macabre dance. Doors slammed shut, staircases dissolved into unknown abysses. Beneath his feet, the floor suddenly trembled, as though an ancient, slumbering force were stirring from the deep, intent on dragging him down. With each faltering step, The relentless weight of bygone sorrows and the cold caress of death threatened to overtake him entirely. In a climactic moment of horror, the ground itself split open, a vast chasm yawning beneath him, and he lost his footing. His anguished cries echoed through the vast decaying halls as unseen forces converged, determined to halt his escape. In that final, dreadful instant, the accumulated curse of the manor, the grief, the betrayals, and the countless lost lives descended upon him. As he closed his eyes, memories, grief, and the chill breath of death intermingled, until all he could feel was the inescapable pull of oblivion. When the first light of dawn timidly broke through the heavy darkness, Blackwood Manor remained as silent and forsaken as ever, a mausoleum of forgotten souls and hidden curses. In the overgrown garden, among withered leaves, lay Ethan's shattered camera, the sole silent witness to his final, fateful moments. The photographs it captured were ghastly and inexplicable, images that told of unutterable pain, lost spirits, and the unending curse that haunted the manor. Later that morning, as local residents approached the mansion, it seemed as if the building had reverted to its eerie normalcy. Yet in every room, every corridor, every vast hall, the lingering traces of Ethan's presence mingled with the deep scars of the curse, the echo of anguished souls, the silent memory of tragedies, and the ever-present foreboding of the past. And so, Blackwood Manor continued to safeguard its dark legacy, waiting for the next brave or desperate soul to disturb its haunted peace, a grim reminder that some secrets are best left untouched. On an overcast evening, as a dense fog rolled in from the sea, the quiet coastal town of Grayhaven was shrouded in an eerie stillness. Beneath the gentle lap of the waves and the muffled sounds of the night, something ancient and malevolent stirred. Nora, an intrepid investigative journalist with a reputation for delving into the darkest corners of local legends, had arrived in Grayhaven following a series of bizarre disappearances that defied all rational explanation. The locals, wary and haunted by years of superstition, spoke in hushed tones about the fogwalkers, phantom figures seen wandering through the fog, their origins lost in the mists of time. Some believed these apparitions were the souls of sailors doomed by treacherous storms, while others swore they were harbingers of an ancient curse unleashed upon the town. Despite the palpable tension in the air, Nora's curiosity was piqued. She was determined to uncover the truth behind these spectral legends. Under the pall of the impenetrable fog, Nora made her way toward the town's abandoned lighthouse, a towering relic that once served as a guardian to weary mariners. The structure, battered by relentless storms and the passage of time, stood as a silent testament to tragedies long past. Its once bright beacon was now extinguished, replaced by a cold, unyielding darkness that seemed to absorb all hope. Every step towards the lighthouse was accompanied by an increasing sense of foreboding, as if the very ground beneath her harbored dark memories. Inside the dilapidated lighthouse, the air was thick with the scent of salt, decay, and lost dreams. The spiraling staircase creaked underfoot as Nora ascended toward the lantern room, each step echoing through the narrow passageway like the toll of a distant bell. The walls were adorned with strange, archaic symbols, their meanings obscured by time and mystery. Faint traces of light danced across these markings, hinting at a power that defied the natural order. It was here, in the very heart of the lighthouse, that Nora discovered an old journal bound in cracked leather, its pages yellowed with age. The journal belonged to Captain Elias Marlowe, the final keeper of the lighthouse, whose entries recounted the gradual descent of Grayhaven into darkness. He wrote of an unspeakable pact forged on stormy nights, a bargain with a spectral entity that dwelt in the depths of the fog. According to the captain, this entity was not merely a ghost, but a living embodiment of the sea's wrath and sorrow, demanding blood and sacrifice to sat its eternal hunger. The captain's final entries were frantic, filled with desperate incantations and pleas for forgiveness, hinting at a ritual that might sever the curse's hold over the town. As Nora pored over the captain's words, a low, sorrowful hum. At the water's edge, Nora encountered a figure draped in tattered garments, her face obscured by a veil of sorrow. The woman's eyes, haunting and deep, conveyed a message of urgent despair. Without uttering a word, the apparition turned and gestured toward an ancient, weathered stone at the edge of the dock. There, partially buried in the sand, lay a small, intricately carved box adorned with symbols identical to those in the lighthouse. Overcome by a mixture of fear and determination, Nora carefully retrieved the box and opened it, revealing a collection of relics: a rusted key, a faded map, and a cryptic note written in trembling script. The note read, "Only through remembrance can we break the cycle. Offer what is lost, and the fog shall relent." Realizing that the key to lifting Grayhaven's curse lay in this long-forgotten ritual, Nora resolved to perform the ancient rite described in Captain Marlowe's journal. That night, as the fog grew thicker and more oppressive, she returned to the lighthouse with the relics in hand. In the center of the lantern room, she arranged the items in a precise, almost ceremonial pattern, with the storm outside intensifying and the winds howling like tormented souls. Nora recited the incantation, her voice trembling yet resolute. As her words echoed in the cavernous space, the symbols on the walls ignited with an eerie, pulsating light. The fog outside convulsed violently, as if the very air was being torn apart by an unseen force. In the ensuing chaos, a spectral figure materialized before Nora's sorrowful woman, whose eyes were filled with centuries of grief. The apparition reached out, her translucent fingers brushing gently against Nora's cheek. And in that fleeting moment, a torrent of memories flooded her mind. She saw visions of a bustling port now reduced to ruins, of families torn apart by loss, and of a promise made in blood that had doomed the town to perpetual misery. The intensity of the ritual reached its climax as the lights in the lighthouse flared and then dimmed, leaving Nora in a suffocating darkness punctuated only by the relentless roar of the sea. The spectral voices that had haunted Grayhaven for generations rose in a final, anguished chorus, their cries melding with the fury of the storm. Then, as if a great burden had been lifted, the fog began to recede, unveiling the harbor in a ghostly pale light. Yet the victory came at a terrible cost. In the aftermath of the ritual, Nora found that her own reflection in the lighthouse's ancient mirror had changed. Her eyes now glowed with a spectral light, and her presence carried the weight of untold sorrow. The ritual had quelled the malevolent force for now, but it had also bound Nora's soul to the tragic legacy of Grayhaven. As dawn broke, the town awoke to a sense of uneasy calm. The fog had lifted, but in its place lingered a profound silence that spoke of memories too painful to forget. From that day forward, Nora became both guardian and chronicler of Grayhaven's secrets. Her writings, infused with the spectral energy of that fateful night, served as a somber reminder that some curses are inescapable, and that the whispers in the fog are eternal. The town, forever altered by the ancient pact, remained a place where the boundary between the living and the dead was as fragile as a wisp of mist, and where every gust of wind might carry the sorrowful echoes of the past.